In the little fishing village of Charlottesville, Tobago, lived the family of the Winchesters, Boise and his wife Annie, with their 7 children. Wilbert Hilton Winchester was the last in the clan, born on the 8th of February, 1931, and would prove to be a scholar and leader among his peers. He went to school in Tobago and did very well, not only in academics, but in singing too, encouraged by his teacher, Mr. Tull. Life changed for him when his father died of a heart attack, when young Wilbert was just 10 years old.
He did very well, and his mother wasn't sure what to do with him. Because in Charlottesville, those days, Charlottesville was in the real end. So she was contemplating what course of education they should put him. He had an aunt who was living in Trinidad. Her name is Mrs. Caroline Aline. We all called her, or she was called Mother Bell. And she said she would like him to come to Trinidad and continue his education.
Wilbert went to the Moulton Hall Methodist School and the Osmond High School, where among his classmates was also George Chambers.
He passed senior Cambridge, first grade, second in the school.
After high school, Wilbert went into the world of work, getting jobs in customs, the post office, and even volunteering in the fire service.
He worked at custom for a while, and then from there he worked in the post office, and he did voluntary work at the fire service. He loved the fire service. I don't know why, I think it was the uniform. He applied to go away to study in Canada. He entered the University of Toronto, and there he pursued economics and political science, honor degree. He got through all right. Of course, he entered the law school of Toronto. That course took him 3 years, and then he was called to the bar of Ontario.
Love blossomed for the Winchesters as they met at the University of Toronto in his final year.
Trinidadians were there, like over on Padmore, Eugenia Moore, and so on. And Roy Thomas, Dr. Roy Thomas, they were all together. George Boxill, they're all close. They were close together. And I went to the university to pursue a course in public health. I did my nursing course in Jamaica, and then I went on to the University of Toronto to do the public health section of my nursing. We got married in 1962, about two and a half years later.
The newlyweds were soon off to Geneva, where Wilbert became a member of the International Labor Standards Department at the International Labor Organization. There, he made valuable contacts and friendships with people who were involved with labor issues in Trinidad and Tobago. One such person was Justice Hayatali. The good times shared with fellow Trinidadians and West Indians in Geneva during those 4 years served the Winchesters well, as they heard of a job at the Cipriani Labor College in Trinidad. Winchester applied and was made director of the college. He was also appointed a director at the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago and the Management and Development Productivity Center. Upon his return to Trinidad with his wife and newborn son, Winchester was introduced to politics by his cousin, Doddridge Allen, who was, however, a non-political person.
was always interested in politics, I must say that, because while we were in Toronto, he got involved in politics, not publicly, but he had he supported certain people, and so he had that in his blood. So when we came here, he wanted to get involved, and he joined the party. He joined the People's National Movement, and started to circulate. And then he was invited to get into Tobago and go and run for the Tobago East constituency.
I first met Mr. Wilbert Winchester at the screening committee of the party. He was eminently qualified in terms of his academic qualifications. He came across as a man who understood people. In spite of his qualifications, he was a very simple, humble man. Unfortunately for him, in 1971, he got in by default. He did not contest the election. It was the no vote here. And he went in unopposed. So his entry into politics his successful entry was by default. He, however, was given the portfolio of Minister of Tobago Affairs. And from my knowledge and experience of him, he always performed to the best of his ability.
Winchester also was a cabinet minister who held several portfolios over his tenure, such as Minister of Education, Minister of Petroleum and Mines, and Minister of Labor and Social Security. During his term from 1971 to 1976, Winchester distinguished his role in Tobago in two particular contentious areas. The first was the introduction of the National Insurance Scheme, and the second was the building of the Claude Noel Highway.
People didn't understand what was really involved in the National Insurance Scheme. In fact, they used the word scheme as a scheme, and he had to explain to people at meetings that the National Insurance Scheme was a very good thing, and they would benefit from it. As a matter of fact, many people now are very happy in Tobago about that National Insurance Scheme. They look forward, especially now, to their $2,000 per month. A lot of things were said about it. It was going to change up this and change up, the contour of Tobago. But again, there are some people. They were told that they should lie down on the highway or on the road and not allow the people to move, because some people were displaced. And of course, it brought some inconvenience. What my husband had to do, he used to visit those persons. I remember I went up, because I was still living in Trinidad. I went up on a Sunday for a weekend, and I had to go around with him where he met these ladies, especially elderly ladies then, to tell them about the importance of the highway and what it would do for Tobago. Today, I'm sure they are very happy, except those people who will not drive carefully on the road and, have the accidents and so on. But I think it has helped greatly the movement in Tobago.
It was, in fact, a difficult task in negotiating And one of the problems you had in Tobago, and you still have, is land title. So in fact, it was he was in the firing line during that period. And I think he gave a good account of himself. I think he handled the situation. While it was lengthy, I think he successfully brought the situation under control. So we were able to clear the site and construct the now famous Claude Noel Highway.
His political life also continued within the PNM as he won a position as a labor relations officer.
In 1973, he succeeded me as I retired as labor relations officer of the party, while I continued to be a member of the Central Executive and the General Council. I retired as labor relations, and he succeeded me. He was very knowledgeable and experienced industrial relations.
His work in Tobago continued until 1976, when he was defeated by A&R Robinson at the polls.
Robinson, former treasurer and deputy political leader of the party, resigned from the PNM and went back to Tobago and conducted a campaign that was, to describe it, with a level of insularity. It was a sort of campaign in which he was emphasizing something close to the independence for Tobago. It was not directly separatism, but he brought a sense of consciousness to the Tobagonians. Unfortunately, he didn't have an opportunity to continue the good work that he was doing because of the onslaught of Robinson and his Tobago nationalism.
With his exit from national politics, Winchester turned to business, opening up his own firm for project management and labor relations consultancy, W.W. Mercon. He continued his law practice and was awarded the title of Juris Doctor from the University of Toronto and assumed the title Dr. Wilbert Winchester, Attorney at Law. He also served as chairman of Mega Insurance Company and held positions on many company boards, including the Trinidad and Tobago Free Zones and Public Transport Service Corporation. Wilbert Hilton Winchester was a man who dedicated his life to service of his family, community, and country. He was a gentleman and scholar, a friend to many, and model citizen of our country. He is best described by his friend and colleague, Ferdy Ferreira.
He gave a good account of himself. He was always an approachable, charming, committed person to his responsibilities. And when he demitted politics, we continued our friendship. He continued as a loyal party member, I think almost until his death a few years ago. This much I do know of my friend and buddy, the late Wilbert Winchester. But he has served this country, he served his people in Tobago well, and he has been, generally speaking, one of the good citizens who can and should be emulated.